Chief Meteorologist Rob Perillo.
Welcome back. Well, in about 48 hours, it looks like a Category 2 hurricane will be barreling into Acadiana. We'll have all the particulars on Delta coming up in just a bit. Down to a Cat 1 right now, but it's going to strengthen back up to a major hurricane. Question is, how long will it stay at that intensity before weakening as it approaches the Louisiana coastline? But we're going to have a wallop, no doubt about it. So let's take a look at the big picture as we look at the satellite imagery this afternoon. And again, Hurricane Delta crossing over the Yucatan, hit as a 2, kind of a fragile system because it was a small storm. But now we're going to watch it expand as it gets further out into the western Gulf of Mexico. The waters here are very conducive for intensification. Upper level conditions are as well. So we're going to see this go from a Cat 1 back to more than likely a Category 3. 85-mile-per-hour winds on the last bulletin coming in from the National Hurricane Center, 977 millibars, so that is up as well. But the models bring this back down to 940, 950 range as we get into the western Gulf of Mexico. So back up to a Category 3 storm, we think late tomorrow night, early Friday morning, and then making a move toward Acadiana and southwest Louisiana in the mix as well. Unfortunately for our friends in Lake Charles, we'll show you that in just a bit. But again, this is the average forecast error. It could go either way. We could see some changes. We were right over Lafayette yesterday. Today we're about 30 miles west of there. We saw the track nudged about 3 miles east this afternoon after it moved back to the west this morning. So pretty much on target for Louisiana and Acadiana strike at this point. So with that in mind, hurricane watches have been hoisted for the area as of today. These hurricane watches will shift to hurricane warnings sometime tomorrow, and I think that's going to be for all of Acadiana once again. As for those hurricane wind probabilities, they were up over 30% yesterday, backing off just a little bit based on timing and the forecast track a little bit farther to the west, but still about a 3 in 10 chance of hurricane force winds, maybe less so farther to the east, but this is going to have a big wind field with it when it comes in. It's going to be a much larger storm, and this is the big story along the coast. The storm surge up to 7 to 11 feet from Pecan Island all the way over to just west of Grand Isle, and anything in red here is going to be inundated with 6 to 9 feet of water. So once again, a storm surge that's coming in. Same areas that got flooded with Hurricane Laura are going to get flooded again. Maybe it won't be quite so bad over toward Creole and Grand Chenier, but there's going to be storm surge waters going over Highway 82 for sure. And we're going to see if this changes because the forecast is going to be a little bit weaker. But look at these inundations. All of coastal eastern Vermilion Parish into Iberia Parish, seeing saltwater penetration along and south of Highway 14. So we're going to have to watch this one. We're going to have more of a surge here in Acadiana than we had with Hurricane Laura. So that's the big news, especially as we get into St. Mary Parish, where there's going to be a big inundation right around Sippermore Point. We're talking 8 to 9 feet above normal mean sea level and inundations on the ground there. So here's the latest GRAF model. This is the model that performed very well during Hurricanes Laura and Salary, so we're going with this one for Delta as well. Tomorrow we'll see scattered tropical showers, but kind of outer influences of the hurricane, but the main action coming in as we head into Friday. Look, the storm is south of the Texas-Louisiana border at noon on Friday. Tropical rain bands begin to move in, and unfortunately for our friends in Cameron and Calcasieu Parish, this storm looks to be weighted. The GFS is doing the same on the northern and western side of this storm. So this is where we could see some very heavy rainfall, but you never know what you're going to get until the storm is actually getting close to the coast. But bottom line, the weather gets rough late afternoon, early evening for all of Acadiana. And the timing on this looks to be closer to the National Hurricane Center forecast. So this comes in during the course of the late afternoon, early evening, but by midnight, most of Acadiana is out of the hurricane zone for the most part. There'll still be gusty winds, but it's the main winds with those big tropical squalls that will be issues. Now, wind-wise, maybe some gusty winds with some of the tropical showers tomorrow. This is the GRAF model as well. Now, these numbers are going to be high, but again, this is probably the worst case wind gust that we might see, and this did verify with Laura over Lake Charles a few weeks back. So winds picking up Friday afternoon, wind gusts 40 to 50, and then it only goes up from there. Anything in purple is getting up to 70. Anything in white is 100-mile-an-hour wind. So we start seeing gusts Friday afternoon, 60 to 70, 80 to maybe 90 as you get into western portions of Louisiana, Grand Chenier, more high winds here. It's hard to believe this. And then those high winds also building further east into Acadiana. We have gusts over 100, Kaplan, Intracoastal City, Abbeville, even Lafayette gets in on the act. So these are the high winds that are going to do the damage and also knock the power out. So that's why we're thinking we're going to see widespread power outages. And then by midnight, things begin to settle down. And after that, winds much lower as we get towards Saturday morning. And here's a new product here. This is the power outage threat based on the model that the GRAF model. So anything in yellow, low risk of power outages, orange, a better risk, and red, well, this is going to be knocking power out. And watch what happens as we get into Friday evening. These areas of red expand northward, also eastward. This is telling us that Lafayette's going to get in on the power outages as well. All of Acadia Parish, and again, you can see the center of the storm and where the winds are strong enough to knock power lines down or trees into power lines. This takes into account the power grid and the wind damage on what it could do with respect to trees and that sort of thing as well. Rainfall, now this is the GRAF model. It's heavily weighted near the center or the western side of the storm. We're going to say 4 to 8 inches of rain. Some areas are going to get closer to 10, maybe 12 inches of rain, maybe even a few spots with 15. We're going to see how this plays out. The GRAF model is a little bit hot on the rainfall, but it's going to be a fast-moving system. So rain is the least likely of our problems. The big tide and surge along the coast of 7 to 11 feet, and that storm surge will penetrate 5 to 10 miles inland, especially across eastern Vermilion, Iberia, and St. Mary parishes. As for winds, we're going to go with sustained winds area-wide 40 to 60, so it's going to be gusty. Those gusts up to 100 or more in spots. We'll have to see how that plays out. These are guesses right now on what we have, and power outages, widespread power outages, so make the necessary preparations for being without power for days, and some folks maybe another week or two. Tomorrow, rain chances in the 60% range, and then we get into Friday, we're going to go with 100% there. Not a brainer with a hurricane moving in. At some point, we're going to have heavy rainfall for sure. Improving conditions Saturday with the sun coming back out, and then as we go into next week, we'll be looking forward to a front next Tuesday. That's it for weather. Marcel, back over.